JD Vance and Pete Hegseth showed up to Union Station today in Washington, D.C. after the National Guard has been sent there for a week now. And people, residents of D.C., mercilessly booed them. Let's watch. Now, J.D. Vance took questions shortly after walking through the station, and listen to how he described the residents of D.C.
I know that we've traded now some violent, crazy people who are screaming at kids with a few crazy liberals who are screaming at the vice president, but I think that's a very worthwhile trade to make. Because
that's who these protesters are. They're crazy. Of course, these are the people who J.D. Vance says the National Guard was sent to protect. These are the residents of the community that J.D. Vance has militarized. Now, later on, J.D. Vance was asked about recent polls that show an overwhelming majority of D.C. residents don't want the National Guard in their community.
Polls show that a majority of D.C. residents don't support the Guard. What's your message to that?
I'm sorry?
Polls show that a majority of D.C. residents don't support the Guard here. So what's your message to the majority of D.C. residents?
I'm highly skeptical that a majority of D.C. residents don't want their city to have better public safety and more reasonable safety standards within Washington, D.C. I don't know what poll you're talking about. Maybe the same polls that said Kamala Harris would win the popular vote by 10 points.
Of course, J.D. Vance can't answer the question. He needs to pivot to, well, the polls must be fake. I don't believe them. Just like those residents outside, oh, they're actually crazy. Now, these guys know how weak they are, how weak that argument is. And so Stephen Miller, of course, Stephen Miller, they're just the goon of the squad, the creepiest of all creeps, decided he was going to take it a step further in attacking the residents of D.C.
And for too long, 99% of this city has been terrorized by 1% of the city. And the voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots, they have no connections to the city, they have no families they're raising in this city, they have no one that they're sending to school in this city, they have no jobs in this city, they have no connections to this community at all. But they're the ones who've been advocating for the 1%, the criminals, the killers, the rapists, the drug dealers. And I'm glad they're here today. Because me, Pete, and the Vice President are all going to leave here, and inspired by them, we're going to add thousands more resources to this city to get the criminals and the gang members out of here. We're going to dismantle those networks, and we're going to prove that a city can serve for the law-abiding citizens who live there. We are not going to let the communists destroy a great American city, let alone the nation's capital. And let's just also address another thing. All these demonstrators that you've seen out here in recent days, all of these elderly white hippies, they're not part of the city and never have been. And by the way, most of the citizens who live in Washington, D.C. are black. This is not a city that has had any safety for its black citizens for generations. And President Trump is the one who is fixing that with the support of the Metropolitan Police Department, the support of the National Guard, and our federal law enforcement officers. So we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies that all need to go home and take a nap because they're all over 90 years old, and we're going to get back to the business of protecting the American people and the citizens of Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Stephen.
These guys are attacking the residents of D.C. because they know how weak they are making them look. When you try to show up for a political kind of photo op here, and you have the residents of D.C. who are backed by polls that show the majority of DC doesn't want what this administration is doing, it shows how weak of an argument that J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, Pete Hegseth are trying to make here. And so, of course, J.D. Vance is going to call them crazy. Of course, Stephen Miller is going to say that they're not even from here without any evidence of that claim to support his claim. Oh, they're not from here, and they're all older than 90 and they need to go to bed. I mean, do they sound like these are people who are over 90 years old? No. And what's really happening here, of course, is Donald Trump is trying to bully the nation's capital, trying to bully the Democratic Party, bully one of the country's most liberal cities because he's afraid of the fallout from his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. And you can, put a bunch of bows on it, send a bunch of tanks out across the country, but it is what it is. And so, of course, when they're making moves like this that are completely unjustified, they're going to look like fools trying to justify it. And so that's when they turn to ad hominem attacks against protesters. And I do want to make one point about just how that video looked, how Hegseth, Miller, and Vance kind of appear in that video with the darkened eyes. I mean, it's a coincidence that they just happen to look so evil when they're committing these evil acts. And another thing, these guys, this press, them answering questions was after 10 minutes of them walking through this crowd. And I don't know if you noticed this, but all of the soldiers' food, the hamburgers, was sitting on the table getting cold. Like, it's a small reminder of the fact that it's not about purpose for these guys. It's about politics. It's not about thanking these troops. It's not about feeding these troops. It's about using them to try to belittle and attack other Americans for political points, to score political points. I really think that this move today, JD Vance appearing with Pete Hegseth and Stephen Miller, with all of the National Guard troops at Union Station, was really a photo op to strengthen and embolden JD Vance in the eyes of the Republican Party and MAGA, because JD Vance is their escape route for when the time comes, if it ever does, when Donald Trump is named to be a co-criminal with Jeffrey Epstein in some what could be pretty heinous and disgusting acts. Now, when that happens, if that happens, then JD Vance is going to be the new king, the new cult leader of MAGA. And so they really need to make him look strong in the eyes of Republican voters, because he's pretty much all they have left if and when Donald Trump falls. We might see more instances like this where JD Vance is kind of taking the lead when it comes to decisions that this administration has made. Why didn't Donald Trump show up and do this today? Because JD Vance needs to look strong in the eyes of MAGA voters. Let me know what your thoughts are on all the commotion today at Union Station. If you're a resident of DC, be sure to share your reflections in the comments below so that we have a better understanding of exactly how you guys are feeling today. My heart and my thoughts are with you guys. I hope that you guys are safe. Thank you to everyone who is watching, and be sure to subscribe to Reflect Politics if you haven't done so already. My name is Brendan Plank. I'll see you guys in the next video.